The rusted signpost pointed towards Veljovo, a place shrouded in mystery and whispered legends. A name that felt like a threat whispered on the wind, sending shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to speak it aloud. Dusk, a bruised purple, bled into the valley, casting long shadows that danced with the whispers of the past. Trees, gnarled and ancient, clawed at the fading light, their twisted branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to ensnare the unwary traveler. He drove deeper, each turn of the engine a beat in the silence of the mountains, the road winding like a serpent through the dense forest. This was no place for a stranger. But he was already here, drawn by a force he couldn't quite understand, a compulsion that felt both foreign and familiar. The air grew colder, the scent of pine mingling with the faint, acrid smell of decay. It was as if the forest itself was alive, watching, waiting. He could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, a presence that seemed to lurk just beyond the edge of his vision. The path ahead was uncertain, shrouded in darkness and the unknown. Yet he pressed on, driven by a need to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the shadows. The journey into shadow had begun, and there was no turning back. The village huddled in the valley, a cluster of shadowed roofs and shuttered windows. Cobblestones, slick with moss, swallowed the sound of his footsteps. A dog whined, a thin, mournful sound. Faces, weathered and wary, watched him from darkened doorways. Their silence spoke volumes. He was unwelcome, he was in danger. The inn-room was small, suffocating. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and old fears. Sleep wouldn't come. Not here. Not in this place. Then, the scratching began. At the window, low, guttural sounds slithered through the walls. A howl, long and mournful, pierced the night. It was close. Too close. The stone circle stood on the hill above the village, ancient, imposing, a place of power, or something else. He felt it watch him, a presence cold and predatory. Then he saw it, a fleeting glimpse in the moonlight, a creature of shadow and bone. It moved with unnatural speed, circling the stones, hunting. He ran, breathless, panicked. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a desperate plea for survival. The shadows of the forest seemed to reach out, grasping at him with unseen hands. Every step was a struggle, every breath a battle. He could hear the rustling of leaves, the snapping of twigs, as if the forest itself was alive, hunting him. The forest offered no shelter, only the illusion of it. The full moon cast eerie shadows, turning the trees into towering phantoms. He stumbled over roots and rocks, his feet barely finding purchase on the uneven ground. The cold night air bit at his skin, but he couldn't stop. He wouldn't stop. The fear drove him forward, deeper into the heart of the forest. The ruined chapel loomed from the trees, a skeletal silhouette against the dying moon. Its once grand structure now stood as a testament to decay and abandonment. The windows were shattered, the doors hanging off their hinges. He hesitated for a moment, his eyes scanning the darkened interior, but he had no choice. He had to find refuge, even if it was temporary. Inside, the air was cold, still. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant howls of the wind. He could feel the weight of the chapel's history pressing down on him, the echoes of forgotten prayers and lost souls. He moved cautiously, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. The pews were covered in dust, the altar cracked and crumbling. He barricaded the door, the wood rotten and weak. It wouldn't hold for long, but it was all he had. He could hear the distant sounds of pursuit, the relentless approach of whatever hunted him. His hands trembled as he pushed a pew against the door, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He knew he was running out of time. A prayer left his lips, a plea lost in the darkness. It wouldn't be enough. He knew it, but in that moment, it was all he had. He sank to his knees, his eyes closed, his heart heavy with despair. The darkness seemed to close in around him, the weight of his fear pressing down. He whispered into the void, hoping against hope that something would hear him. The chanting started outside, low, rhythmic, words in a language he didn't understand but felt in his bones. Fear, primal and suffocating, tightened its grip. The creature circled the chapel, its shadow falling across the broken altar. He was trapped, hunted. Crimson dawn, crimson curse. Dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised violet. The forest, usually a sanctuary of life, now stood as a silent witness to the unspeakable events that had transpired under the cover of darkness. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, as if the very trees were holding their breath, mourning the loss that had occurred, a silent testament to the horrors of the night. Shadows seemed to linger longer, and the usual morning chorus of birds was absent, replaced by an unsettling silence. The villagers, who had once felt safe in the embrace of the forest, now approached it with trepidation, their hearts heavy with dread. The villagers found him there, or what was left of him, torn, broken. His body, a grotesque display of violence, lay amidst the broken trees, a stark contrast to the serene beauty of the dawn. Whispers of fear spread among the villagers as they gathered around, their faces pale with shock and horror. His eyes stared vacantly at the heavens, reflecting the terror of his final moments. They seemed to plead for answers, for justice, for an end to the nightmare that had befallen their village. The once vibrant eyes were now dull, a haunting reminder of the life that had been so cruelly extinguished. The curse of Velyovo had claimed another victim. This ancient curse, whispered about in hushed tones, had once again shown its malevolent power. The villagers knew that this was not the end, but merely a continuation of the terror that had plagued them for generations. As they stood there, the weight of the curse pressed heavily upon their souls, a grim reminder of the darkness that lurked within their beloved forest. The whisper started again, spreading like wildfire through the valleys. Another soul claimed by the curse of Velyovo, another life extinguished. But the warnings went unheeded, lost in the mists of time and fear. For some stories, some places, hold a darkness that refuses to be silenced. The village remains untouched by time, yet forever marked by the ancient evil that resides there. A chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. For in the heart of the Bulgarian mountains, beneath the watchful gaze of the ancient stones, the shadows stir, and they are always hungry.